Ever since I was a little kid, I was very sensitive to the feelings and opinions of others. I always wanted to make sure that everyone around me was comfortable, happy, safe, and having fun. However, as I've expressed in other videos before, I also absolutely love the macabre and the terrifying and dark media like video games, anime, and movies. As someone who identifies as highly empathetic, not necessarily an empath, but highly empathetic, this caused a really odd dilemma for me. Not only did I love this dark media, but I also love to create it. I currently have a video game in early development that covers many really dark themes, and I have so many ideas about how to cover pain and suffering in humanity and how humans deal with sin and guilt and emotions and the struggles and strifes of being a human. However, this makes me face a very unfortunate circumstance. Wanting to create an amazing, beautiful, deep, and dark story that illustrates the cacophony of suffering and agony that is the human condition, while also not wanting to cause suffering to the characters I had so lovingly created for the story. It is truly strange how sometimes the human brain will adopt a love that is so real for things that are not real. The same way that we fall in love with fictional characters that aren't our own in our favorite television shows, movies, and books. Every single character that I create, even the villains, are my creations. They're like my children. They are my love. They are parts of me. They're reflections of me. And I don't want to subject them to the suffering that either I or other people have had to go through in existence. In order to illustrate the pain of loss, I must make the conscious decision to take away from this character I've made in order to illustrate to you that I understand your pain using the medium of this poor fictional character. However, my empathy just makes it really hard. Even though realistically I know that this character doesn't actually exist in any reality, but they're real to me. And I actually do feel the pain I inflict on them. A little bit of backstory. I grew up around dogs since my very early formative years. My grandmother used to raise them, and I was often the one to go and cuddle them and love on them and play with them and socialize with them until they were ready to go to their people. I loved every puppy so deeply. Every single one that passed through my arms and into the arms of a new owner, I would cry. Because I had established such a deep connection with every little animal that I had kissed and rocked to sleep. Every little four-legged friend that I had ran around in the yard with, laughing and feeling happier than I had ever known at that time, had to go eventually. One day, it was just life. And even though I knew this still caused me great anguish. However, now that gives me the resources to tap into to tell another story. And unfortunately, this is projected onto someone new, my characters. I don't enjoy writing or illustrating the tragic stories of abuse, hatred, suffering, loss, and trauma that will be happening and have happened to these characters in order to tell a deep, raw, and real story, but it must be done. In order to give you, the viewers and players, something to remember and something to touch you deep down inside, I must subject someone else to the same torture. Funnily enough, I've gained a lot of subscribers from my Fear and Hunger series. I also do my own personal runs in between episodes in order to familiarize myself with more of the game or just to pass some time even. At one point, to get to a certain weapon, I needed to collect 4 arms. I had 3 from random finds. I don't even know where I got them, I just had 3. And I needed 1 more. I had 2 party members left. The little girl and Darcy. I had to take one of their arms. I could have taken my own, but I was the most powerful person in the group and I needed all the strength I could to survive because the game actually solely depended on me being alive. And so it was logical to choose one of the women. The young girl had already had 1 arm taken away by me earlier to save her life from an infection. So do I take her other arm and leave her absolutely defenseless? Or do I take only one of Darcy's arms and allow them both to have at least half of a fighting chance? This was an extremely hard decision for me to make. because I didn't want anyone to suffer, but I didn't want anyone to die either. I had to make a choice for the greater good of everyone. Life is always suffering. Sometimes you can only make an educated guess on which option will cause the least amount of it for everyone, though. As someone that has expressed that they are a lover of horror, you would think that I am desensitized to it in many ways, but I'm not. I used to love gore and body horror as a child, but along the way, somewhere in my early adulthood, something in my psyche broke, and I was unable to process actual torture being blatantly shoved in my face anymore. Now, and for the past couple years, I can't even bear to hear someone screaming or crying in agony. The mere thought that someone might be suffering truly pains me all the way to my soul. I hate suffering. I hate it with a passion. I would rather take on the suffering of someone else than watch them writhe in it. Because in a way, while I'm glad that it's not me having to feel that at that moment, I'm also upset that someone else still has to feel it. I can't stand the idea of being fully conscious, awake, and aware, knowing that you are going to endure pain or fear or terror so deeply that surpasses all other pain and you cannot escape it. I am talking on an emotional, mental, and physical level. I cannot stand to watch or witness someone enduring pure suffering, whether that's having your nails pulled out of your fingers or watching the death of someone you love very much happen right in front of you. I simply cannot tolerate or live with suffering in others. And I want to do everything I can to make sure that no one else has to go through it whenever I can. However, I'm willing to illustrate this through fictional characters who won't actually feel it, and even though I'm going to feel what they're feeling, I know that I'm not causing any further damage. But I am using it in a non-realistic, very fictional way that can tap into the parts of someone who needs to be heard or seen. I can tell a story without subjecting a real person to the horror, so that they understand. I can simply show them through the talents that were gifted to me at birth, with my art, storytelling, illustration, music, and planning. And so, you can see how strange it is to be a deeply empathetic artist, with a large heart, wanting to make everything good, wanting to inspire others and uplift them and let them know that they are not alone. But I must do that through the darkness. The only way to uplift, entertain, and inspire and relate to you, the only way I know how to do that, within the parameters of a specific story, is to cause as much pain and suffering as possible. It's great to be positive. It's great to have a beautiful, bright outlook on life. But a lot of us don't get to that point, or a lot of us go through the darkest valleys that some people have never even imagined could exist. And most of the time, while encouragement is really nice, sometimes encouragement doesn't even sound real. And the only way you will ever get to someone who is at the bottom is to get down there with them and sit with them and say, "Here I am. I'm in the darkness with you. I've been here before." Hey everybody, this is the Silent Sheepdog. I hope you enjoyed this other little documentary thing that I did. I really enjoy making videos like this where I kind of get to talk about my feelings and my process and my ideas as far as my art and who I am and how I create and how I like to connect to people through my art. And I hope this touched you, and I hope this was something someone could relate to, and I hope you had a really good time listening. So thank you so much for sticking around this long. I am the Silent Sheepdog, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.